Good morning, you guys. It's hard to believe that we are in the 4th week of doing these online devotional things. I hope they've been an encouragement to y'all, like they have been for us. It's been really cool to hear back from leaders and some of you guys about what you've been learning. So please keep telling us that stuff. This week we're in Jonah, and last night during Connect Groups, Nate gave us an overview of the book of Jonah, and you can find that video in the link in our bio on YouTube. But today we are in Jonah chapter 1, verses 1 through 6, so the very first part. And here we're introduced to Jonah, the prophet, who I think this book might be one of the more well-read or well-known, at least to some degree, of the minor prophets, mainly because Jonah gets swallowed up by a fish, and it's crazy and like a very interesting story, and especially I think to kids. But we're not quite there yet in the first chapter, or this first part of the first chapter. But in the first part, we're introduced to the prophet Jonah, and we see that God has called him to go to Nineveh, which is east. And he, Jonah, instead decides to do the exact opposite. And he flees. He runs to Tarshish, which I think that's how you say it. I've never been quite sure. So he deliberately goes the exact opposite of what God is telling him to do. And we're not told yet exactly why Jonah is trying to get away from God, trying to run away from God. But we see that he gets on this boat, and it's this crazy story. And the question I want to focus on today in the list of questions focuses on the act of Jonah, like fleeing, like running away from God. And so it's the third question, and it says, Jonah getting on a boat as an attempt to run away from God is almost comical. Right? That's funny because we know that God sees and knows everything, and he's created the land and the sea, and that and Jonah would have known this too, and that we can't run away from him, we can't hide from him. But as Christians, we do the same thing, right? We are tempted, and we do run away from God or try to run away from God. So the question says, how and when do you find it most tempting to run away from or ignore God, and why do you think that is? And for me, I know that as a human being, sinful, I am tempted to and choose to run away or ignore God a lot, right? Pretend that what he's teaching me and in prayer and in his word just can take a back seat, for the time being. Pretend that it's not nearly as important or has an effect on me like it really does. And so I have a lot of answers for this question, but the first thing that came to my mind was I'm most tempted, I think, to ignore God when he's calling me to do something hard. And I think most notably in my life right now, that's been in calling out or sharing truth with, or whatever we want to call it, with a friend, right? So having to tell a friend something hard that I know that's good for them to hear, and the Bible says is true, and correct them in that way, and but it's really hard for me to and I know that's would make me a good friend in the long run, but it's hard for me to enter into that conflict, mostly because I fear so deeply what other people think about me, and I don't want this friend to think I'm a bad friend, or that I don't like her, or I don't want to make her feel bad or feel shame or whatever. And so I focus way more on that, on pleasing man, than I do on pleasing God. And so I'm really tempted to just pretend and ignore God in that way. So what are some of the ways that y'all are tempted to ignore God or run away from him, run away from what he says? I am curious. So please let us know. I hope this word blesses you today, and that you continue to engage with us and spend time in prayer and talking to God and reading his word, and resting during this time. We love you guys. Have a great day.